Do you know the pros and cons of purchasing a leasehold property on Maui? If not, you're going to want to watch this video to find out more. My name is Jessica Oyanagi, and I am the owner of Home Sweet Maui Realty. I have this YouTube channel so I can share my tips, tricks, and education with you about the Maui real estate market. And I also love to create content just showing you what it's like to live on the island of Maui. If you're interested in learning more about my services, visiting or living on Maui, or booking a one-on-one clarity call with me, check out the caption below. If you find value in this video, I would love it if you'd hit like and subscribe to my channel. In this video, I'm going to give you the inside information on the differences between a leasehold and a fee simple property in the state of Hawaii. So inevitably, you guys, I get people who are looking for property on Maui who start their search and they end up running into something called a leasehold property, okay? And they're super excited because they have found what appears to be a very good deal financially, but they don't know the differences between a leasehold and a fee simple property, okay? So tip number one that I'm gonna give you on my inside info about leaseholds is that leasehold and fee simple are two completely different ways of purchasing a property, okay? They're different types of ownership, okay? So a fee simple property means that when you buy the home or the condominium, right, that you're interested in, you're buying the structure, right? Like the single family home or the condo that you're gonna be buying, and you're buying the land that it sits on, okay? When you're a fee simple owner, in my opinion, this is the best and highest type of ownership that you can have because you own everything, the land and the structure that sits on it, okay? Versus if you're purchasing a leasehold property, okay, you're only purchasing the structure that you're gonna be living in or maybe renting out to someone else, right? So you only own the structure. You do not, however, own the land that the structure sits on, okay? So I know this can be a little bit confusing, but the most important thing I want you to know is that when you purchase a leasehold, you do not own the land. Someone else owns the land, okay? And that landowner is leasing the land to you, okay? So if you're looking to, say, finance a property, right, you're gonna get a mortgage, you need to keep in mind that not only are you going to be paying your mortgage and all the fees and taxes that are associated with purchasing the property itself, but you would also be paying, if you purchased a leasehold, you're also gonna be paying the landowner a monthly lease payment, okay? A lot of people are very surprised by this. They don't understand this, and it really can affect your bottom line, right? For how much your monthly payments are going to be, okay? And on the island of Maui, a lot of these leasehold properties, which are located primarily in the Maui area and then also in Lahaina, okay? Not only are you paying, let's say you're paying cash, maybe you don't have to deal with a mortgage, but you could potentially be paying your mortgage, right? And your taxes, your insurance. You could be paying that leasehold payment to the landowner, right? And then you could also be paying an HOA or maintenance fee for your condominium complex. So as a potential homeowner, these numbers and these payments are going to be extremely important to be aware of, right, before you consider purchasing a leasehold property. Okay, tip number two that I'm going to give you with my inside tips on purchasing a leasehold is I'm actually going to share with you the number one pro, right, that I think you would benefit from in purchasing a leasehold. And I did say earlier in the video that I actually think fee simple property, that's the highest and best form of property ownership in my mind as a realtor, but every single buyer is different, okay? So I do want you to know that if you're considering a leasehold, they're usually priced a lot cheaper, okay, than a fee simple property. And for some people, it's just bottom line numbers, right? For the amount of time they're gonna own the property, they just want it to be as cheap as possible. And here on Maui, we have many complexes that are actually ocean front, okay, that are only leasehold properties, okay? So if you really love Maui and you wanna be right on that harbor and you just love those vibes, right? a lot of the condo complexes in that area are leaseholds. So you're not gonna get that experience of living in that exact space right on the water anywhere else, okay? So that might be of value to you, being that you can get a waterfront condo a lot cheaper than you could, let's say, up the road in Kihei or Lahaina, okay? So if you're someone that just wants to save money and be in a fantastic location, a lot of these leasehold properties that are here on Maui might be a good fit for you. And tip number 3 that I'm gonna give you with my inside info here for leasehold properties is going to be the cons. It's gonna be what I consider to be cons when it comes to purchasing a leasehold property, okay? And again, every single buyer is different. I'm not advising one way or the other here. I'm just here to give you education and information so that you can make the best decision for yourself, okay? But in my opinion, the biggest con that comes along with a leasehold property is that you do not own the land, okay? So the lease owner, right, the property owner, the land owner, they own the land, and you only own the structure that has been built on the land, okay? Now, these leaseholds, they have very long lease terms, let's say 20, 30, 40, 50 years, okay? So it's not like you're just gonna be in the condo for 2 years and then you're gonna get kicked out because the landowner decides they don't want you anymore. That's not how these work, okay? So it's key for you to understand these long lease terms are for your benefit, right? That means that the landowner can't change the terms on you in the middle of when you're enjoying using the property. However, there's a couple things to consider, okay? If you're a cash buyer, it might not be a huge problem for you, but if you're going to get a loan to purchase one of these leasehold properties, some lenders will not loan to you on a leasehold if there is very little time left in the lease, let's say 5 years or 10 years or something along those lines, right? Because they know that pretty close to the end of the lease term, the landowner may be renegotiating the terms, and the biggest con of all could be that they decide that they don't want to lease that property out to those structure or homeowners anymore, right? Let's say at the end of the term, the landowner says, you know what, I don't want to deal with this anymore. I'm just going to retain the land for myself. Excuse me, I'm going to own the property that's built on it myself. Guess what? If you own one of those condos, right, that's on that leased land, it no longer belongs to you. Okay, now we haven't seen this happen, at least not as of recent, as of late. Here in most of these condo complexes where they have these leaseholds, most of the time the owners just renegotiate, right? The families that own the land, and they move on to a new lease term, okay? But I just want you to be aware that in my mind, the biggest con is that you don't own the land, okay? So you ultimately don't have the decision-making power that the landowner has for that type of a property. I hope this video gave you a little bit more information about leaseholds in the state of Hawaii and on the island of Maui. And if you have more questions, right, the differences between fee simple and leasehold are much more nuanced and much more layered than even what I've covered here, okay? And there's lots of information on the internet that you can read about the pros and the cons, but I just wanted to answer some of the very basic questions that come up about leasehold properties on Maui and give you my opinion on what some of the pros and the cons are, okay? And I'm sure some of you out there may want to comment and you have your own opinions about leasehold properties, especially in Hawaii, especially on Maui, right? Because a lot of people on the mainland aren't familiar with this type of ownership because it's just not something that's present in their community, right? Or maybe where they grew up. So I'd love to answer any other questions that you have if this wasn't enough information for you. Would you like to learn more about buying on Maui? You can download my Maui Buyer's Guide in the caption below. Thanks so much for watching again, and if you found value, I'd love it if you'd hit that like button. I'd love it if you'd subscribe to my channel. You can also book that one-on-one call with me if you want to find out more about buying or selling real estate on the island of Maui, and I will see you next time. Thanks so much. Aloha.